Next, from Springfield, Governor Rauner addresses an audience at Employer Action Day, hosted by the National Federation of Independent Business of Illinois. Governor Rauner talks about improving the business climate of Illinois, fighting the Chicago political machine, and the need to enact term limits. This runs about 25 minutes.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here with you. You're what our future's all about. I'm working for you. That's why I was so excited to come. I'm working for you. Unlike in the past, we've had years where we've been not too friendly to business. It doesn't work out too well for us. We're going to go in a different direction. I am so excited. This is a key moment in Illinois history, literally critical moment in Illinois history. We're going to fundamentally change the direction of our state. We are going to become a pro-growth, pro-investment, pro-career creation state again, like we were many, many years ago. And we're going to transform our state. Nothing more important than that. You guys, nothing more important than you men and women, your leadership in the business community. Because if you're not thriving, Illinois ain't thriving. And let me be crystal clear. We got massive problems. We cannot fix a single problem if we're not growing. Growth, economic expansion, job creation, rising incomes, rising profits for business, rising wages, the whole key to our success, and more jobs. Nothing else. You know what? We can't cut our way out of our problems. We cannot tax our way out of our problems. The only opportunity we have for a great future is growth, economic growth, pro-growth. Number one priority, and that's why we're so focused. You know our turnaround agenda. Many of you have read it. If you haven't seen it yet, we'll hand it to you right here, or you can go online at illinois.gov. We've got a transformational opportunity, and we're going to drive it right now. This is not a next year or the year after. This isn't a nibble around the edges. This is a fundamental transformation right now, because right now is the opportunity to make the biggest changes. You guys know change is difficult. It's tremendously difficult, especially with the entrenched culture and insider dealing and kind of crust that we have in our state government. It's going to be hard. And it's scary. Change is scary. But you know what the great news is? There are a lot of legislators in both parties who support reform. And they're ready to stick their necks out and take some tough votes, but we got to support them. We got to let them know that we support them. Because the special interest groups that love the status quo in Illinois, they are strong. Whoa, are they strong. And they got a lot of money. You know whose money they got? They got your money. And they're spending your money against you. That's what's happening. And we got to change that. The insiders control government. The special interest groups that make their money from government control the political process here in Springfield. And they're running the government for their benefit, not for your benefit. Not for the benefit of our homeowners, our school children, their parents, small business owners. It's for the insiders in the government. And that's the time. We're going to change it. This is going to be transformational because we're going to take the power away from the special interest groups in the state government and give it back to the people again. Give it back to the local voters. Empower local control. Empower our voters in Illinois. And when the people have the power back, so the government is working for the people again, we will thrive. I promise you, we will thrive. Because we have the hardest working people in America. We have the best, we do. We have the best location of any state in America. We have the most fertile farms anywhere in America. And we have the commercial capital of the middle of the United States right here in the metropolitan Chicago area. We should be kicking tails. We should be booming, but we're not because we're hostile to you. That's a fact. We're hostile. People don't like to talk about it, but we're hostile to you. We're going to change that culture. We're changing it right now. We're going to change workers' comp so it's competitive and reasonable and balanced. We're going to change our tort system, our litigation liability system. It's completely broken and out of control. And we got to change. We need a good unemployment insurance system, but it's, we're high cost, and we need it a little bit more balanced, a little bit more competitive. We got to change that. And then it's the overall regulations. We're red tape. We just have a regulation for everything, and we're going to reduce the regulatory burden on all of you so you can vote. And that's the whole key. But then in the government, see, we need economic reform, but the only way we can get the government off of your backs and get a booming economy is to make sure the government bureaucracy is not crushing you. Because our tax burden is already high, And a lot of the people here in the government are just saying, Bruce, fix the problems by just raise the income tax. That'll fix it. Let me be clear. I ain't going to fix anything. And a lot of them say, oh, just put in a graduated income tax and just make sure the wealthy pay more, get their fair share, and then things will be fine. That's not going to make things fine. That'll push a lot more employers out of the state, which ain't fine. That's going the wrong way. But here's the critical thing. I say, if you think putting in a graduated income tax will fix everything, why don't you study what's going on in other states? Look at California. Look at New York. Look at New Jersey. Look at Connecticut. You can go down the list. Where the government unions and insiders are strong, they have massive unfunded pensions, massive debt, massive deficits, and huge bureaucracies that are holding their states back. And one of my favorite examples is New Jersey. I got a lot of friends from there. It's a nice place, but you know what? I don't want to go there. And New Jersey is where we're getting pushed to. New Jersey has brutally high property taxes like us already. It's us in New Jersey have the worst property taxes in America. It's not a coincidence that us in New Jersey lead the nation in out-migration of people leaving. They already have a high sales tax like us. But you know what? They've put in a graduated income tax, a pretty high one. So successful people pay a lot in taxes there. And you know what? They can't pay their pensions. They're not paying their pensions right now. They've already done what everybody wants us to do. That doesn't fix it. You got to take on the structure and the conflicts of interest inside the government. That's what fixes the problem. That's what restores budget and fiscal stability over time. And that's what we're going to do. Change that structure. And I need your help to do it. You know, Illinois, we've got to lock a balance of power between the taxpayers, the voters, and the insiders in the government. Now we've begun to change. You know, we've made it illegal for businesses that contract with the state. It's illegal for businesses and individuals who contract with the state to make campaign contributions to elected public officials in the state government. That's a good thing. People say, well, that reduces their freedom of speech or their political rights. No, it doesn't. It helps eliminate some conflicts. But you know what we haven't done? We've done it in business, but what we haven't done is eliminated the judiciary. We're one of the few states in America where we elect our judges, so they're part of the partisan political process, and we let the trial lawyers who argue cases in front of those judges give them campaign cash to get elected. Hello? This is a conflict of interest, a fundamental conflict of interest. It's one of the reasons we're one of the worst states for lawsuit abuse in America. And the same thing, it's a fundamental conflict of interest. Government union leaders, when you can be a government union leader and you can go to an elected official, a governor or a legislator, and say, we'll get you elected, we'll give you we'll give you $5 million for your election, which is what's happened with governors. We'll put 5,000 of our members to answer your phones and deliver your literature for you. We're going to get you in office, and then after you're in office, let's negotiate our pension and our work rules and our health care. Hello, come on. This is a fundamental conflict of interest. Taxpayers, school children, homeowners, small business owners on the outside, and the politicians and the government union leaders are on the inside. The insiders control the system, and the government doesn't work for the people anymore. That's the fundamental problem, and we got to take that on, head on. And we're going to change it. We're going to change that culture right now. We're going to change it right now. So here's the key. We got to empower the voters to control this issue. We need to change what gets collectively bargained. You know what? A key part of our agenda, in your city, in your county, in your schools, you should decide what gets collectively bargained. Springfield shouldn't tell you. You should decide. And if you want to have everything collectively bargained in your government, terrific, keep it. I got no problem with that. If you want everybody who works for you to be in a union, terrific. That's what we got now, keep it. Terrific. Ain't working too well right now. But if you want to keep it, you can. But you should, the government belongs to you. It belongs to the people of Illinois. It belongs to the voters and the taxpayers. It doesn't belong to insiders. It belongs to you. They don't dictate to us. We don't work for them. They work for us. We got it backwards in Illinois. We got it backwards. They work for us. And we'd love to have them. And I want everybody well paid. I want everybody to have a great retirement. I want everybody to great health care. But we decide that stuff. They work for us. And that's what we got to get the control back where it belongs. Local voters empowered. You control. Same thing on our issues when we build something. You know, if we build something in Illinois with taxpayer money, we're not allowed to competitively bid it. What is that about? Why just because taxpayers pay for something to build it, why can't we competitively bid it? That costs us anywhere from 20%, 30%, 35%, and more when we build a school, when we build a road, when we build a city hall or a public building, when we build a bridge. Why? Think about it. I want to be the infrastructure governor. I want the best infrastructure in the world here in Illinois. Well, I want to spend tens of billions of dollars to upgrade our infrastructure so it's world class, because that's key to our economic prosperity. And if we got to spend 25% more on every construction project, that's a lot fewer roads and schools we can build. And that's a lot less value for taxpayers, for you. So we've got to change that. We should have real competitive bidding. And if you, in your community or in your school district, you want to set a certain wage as a minimum, fine. But you should decide. You shouldn't be told by somebody else. It's your school. It doesn't belong to state government. It belongs to you and your taxpayers in your district. And your government belongs to you and your people and your voters. It doesn't belong to Springfield. You decide. And if you like the status quo, I'm not saying you have to change. Keep it. But you should be able to be empowered to change what you feel like you need to change. And we got to get rid of these unfunded mandates. We have hundreds and hundreds of mandates coming out of state government on your local governments, on your school districts, that cost you a huge amount of money and often add no value. And Springfield won't pay for it. And I think that's baloney. If Springfield wants to put a regulation on, they ought to find a way to pay for it, not put it on the local taxpayers. So we're going to... And you guys know we have 7,000 units of government in Illinois. Way more than any state in America. We have 2,000 more units of government than the number 2 state. Exactly. We have double the average state. Hello. I mean, what? Pensions, cronyism, patronage, brother-in-law, whatever. I mean, we don't need that. Now, it's going to be hard because a lot of both political parties got their buddies in different layers. And so both parties they talk about it, but they don't really like consolidation. But we got to do it. We can save hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars and put it productively into our economy. So small business owners are creating jobs and our homeowners aren't getting crushed with property taxes. We'll figure out a way to do it. So we got a task force going on right now led by Evelyn Sanguinetti. We're going to have specific plans to get that done. Now here on our pensions, big problem. And I want everybody to have a good retirement who works for you, for the people of Illinois. But you know what? Our current system's broken. It's unaffordable. It's also full of fraud and abuse. But it's unaffordable. We got to change it. Now, I don't support what's been done in the past where we reduce the benefits of retirees after they're retired. Some of you might say, well, they should be reduced. I hear you, but I personally don't think we should reduce the benefits of a retiree or take away benefits that have been accrued so far. Even if, because we could argue, maybe those benefits were gotten by unethical, contract negotiations, where there's a conflict of interest, or maybe the benefits are too generous. But you know what? Shame on us for letting that happen. I mean, it's a deal. I think the deal's a deal. I think a handshake a handshake's a handshake. That said, there's no reason that we can't freeze that system, protect what's there, pay it when those people retire, but create a second pension plan for future work that's much more affordable and more flexible. Corporate businesses have done this for decades to fix their pension problems. It's fair, it's more affordable, and I've explained it to teachers and government workers, and you know what? Virtually all of them have said, okay, I got it, that's unfortunately, I probably agree with you, that probably is fair. They don't love it, they'd rather keep everything, keep going what we got. Well, what we got ain't working, and it's unaffordable, it's crushing our economy. We got to change it, and we will. And just to be sure that we're not for 5 years or 10 years of litigation over this, I'm advocating we do a constitutional referendum. Get it on the ballot in November 2016, so we actually have the Constitution say that historical pensions are protected, but future pensions are subject to negotiation and decision by elected officials. Fundamentally make it clear, because unless we do anything but raise everything all the time, we'll always be in court. And then we have the conflicts of interest in the court because the judges are in the pensions and in the healthcare system. Hello, we got a problem. So we got to deal with this. Now, some of you may agree, some not. I believe very strongly to change the culture in the government, we should have term limits on the elected officials. Now, that's more controversial, but I believe I'm term limited myself for 8 years for sure. My wife asked me to term limit out at 4 years, and my wife hopes I do not run again. This is all downside for your family. This is no upside for family. And this is costing me a ton of money. But you know what? I'm doing this out of love of the state. I believe, as the good book says, to whom much has been given, from whom much is expected in return. I love Illinois. It's home, and home's worth fighting for. So if folks want me to work another 4, I'll do it, because I think if you make this commitment, you make the commitment, you go all in. I'll work my fanny off for you for 8 years, and I'm a workaholic. Nobody works harder than me, period. I will work for you 24/7, and that's what I'm doing right now. But I believe we need to change the culture, because there's too many folks who, politics becomes the family business, and it's a way of making money. And you get entrenched in office, and you make more money in your side business because of your political position, and it becomes sort of an insider deal where, and that's wrong. Public service should be public service, and you should work for the people for a few years, do common sense things, and then move on. And frankly, I think elected officials will be willing to make tougher decisions, the right decisions, if they're not just planning on being there for 40 years. You're going to serve for a few years, try to do and take some tough votes and do the right thing, and then move on. George Washington did that. He could have been president for life. A lot of Americans wanted George Washington to be king, literally king. And he said, no, I'm a public servant. I work for the people of America, and I'm gone after 8 years. I don't care what else. He set that standard, and that made democracy in America work. And we need that in our state government in a major way. So we're going to push it. Obviously, we got some support in the General Assembly. Others, it's going to take a little cajoling, but I'm a salesman. I'm also an arm twister, so we're going to do the best we can. But you know what? We collected the signatures. I wanted it on the ballot last November. You guys know this. And we collected double the signatures. Do you know 81% of voters in Illinois, both parties, 81% support term limits? Yeah, exactly. And we got the signatures. We were going to get on the ballot, but we got sued by some of the insiders. And we lost because our Constitution, if something that impacts the legislature is done in a referendum, if it's not instigated by the legislature, if it's done by the voters, it has to be structural and procedural. Who knows what that is? We tried to structure it so that it was that, but the court said we didn't do it, so they threw it out. So, but if it's done by the General Assembly in a bill to put it on the ballot, it doesn't have to be structural and procedural. It can just be term limits, and it can just be voted on. So we get around all that baloney, and it can go right to the voters and let you guys decide. If you don't want term limits, vote against it. That's fine. But people ought to be able to decide. So I think we got a really good shot. We're going to push it hard. I think we got a really good shot to get that done. The key, you should understand, right now, crisis creates opportunity for change, and we have a crisis. That creates the leverage to drive change. But we got to take advantage of that. A lot of people are saying to me, Bruce, just balance the budget and worry about other stuff later. We'll talk to you later about reform. No. That's, we balance a budget. Balancing a budget isn't hard if you're really committed to balancing a budget. And we will always have a balanced budget while I'm governor. We will always have a balanced budget. But you know what? If we do only that, and then they'll never talk about reform. That will never happen. Now we have a crisis in the state, and there's a crisis in the city of Chicago. And Chicago controls, for better or worse, Chicago controls a lot of what happens in Springfield in the legislature. And Chicago has in deep, deep yogurt, worse than the state. Really big problems. I think when you look at the numbers and you look at the issues, I think the Chicago Public Schools could well need to go bankrupt to restructure. I think extremely likely. It's a mess. Because the Chicago, you guys you're from all over the state, but you've heard about the Chicago machine. Well, the Chicago machine is a government union machine. Well, that's what it is. And it's dying of its own weight. It's just unaffordable. It's just crushing the Chicago, a lot of the neighborhoods and the tax burden. The taxes are about to go through the roof on homeowners in Chicago. I feel terrible for them. I feel terrible for them, but that's, they're looking at bleak prospects. But we can't let that happen to the state. We can't let that happen to the state. We're slowly starting to become Southeast Michigan. That's what's happening to us. We're just slowly, and we're not competitive. And we can't be compassionate. I want money in the social services as much as anybody. But we can't be compassionate to help our most vulnerable if we're not competitive. We got to be competitive to be compassionate. And that's what we're going to do, and that's the mission. So I'm here to ask you to support us. One of the challenges we have is making sure the business community gets engaged in the political process. It's scary. It's hard. A lot of business owners, I say it's like you guys are suffering from the Stockholm Syndrome, where you're kind of like, you've been held hostage for a long time, and it's like, oh, please just don't hurt me. It's like, well, no, this economy is yours. This government is yours. This is your businesses. This is your life. These are your kids. It's the future of our kids and our grandkids. So get involved, get engaged, write some letters, make some phone calls. Come knock on the doors of Speaker Madigan and Speaker Cullen. Let them know. You know what? Show. And talk to your mayor. Talk to all your mayors. Talk to your county board. Talk to your school superintendent. Go on the radio. Get them to go on the radio. Study our agenda. And hopefully we'll hand it to you if you don't all have it, but also go online at illinois.gov. Get to know it. It's listed out crystal clear. And we're actually traveling the state. I'm traveling the state 24/7. And we've gotten a lot of cities already to vote to endorse it. County boards, already McHenry County, Winnebago County, counties are voting to endorse it. If you guys in your communities will endorse it, your local chambers endorse it, your local business groups endorse it, get your local community endorse it, will show that grassroots folks, the regular people of Illinois support this, bringing power back to the people again. And we'll do it. You know what? Democrats and Republicans, everybody likes local control. That's what America's about, and that's what democracy's about. Voters empowered, local control. You can't argue against that. And when people try to spin it as anti-union, but let me be crystal clear, I'm not anti-union. We'll be a union state for decades. But we also, while we're union, we also got to compete. We got to compete, and the states around us have gone right to work. And I don't advocate for us going statewide right to work. I don't support that. But there's no reason we can't authorize local communities to decide, because that's allowed under federal labor law if it's authorized by the state. So Effingham County could decide to be employment flexible. Washington County could decide, or Winnebago County could decide. And as long as a few counties decide to do it, that gets us on the list. Because right now we're not on the list. There's a list of 25 states that are right to work, and there are thousands of employers who will not look at a closed shop state. When they look to move or expand, they won't go there. It's a binary decision. Well, let's get on the list. If we have a level playing field and we're on the list, I'm a heck of a business recruiter. We are going to recruit companies here. And we can rebuild our manufacturing base, because we've been losing it. It's been drifting away for a long time. We can restore it. If we're competitive, if we're even close to a level playing field, we will win, because we got better people in a better location. So it's the key time. Need your support. And these votes are coming in the next 90 days, 60 days. This is not, this ain't next year. It's now. We're going to start getting out there, spreading the message through all kinds of media sources. I'm meeting every day. Every day that the General Assembly's down here with me, I'm living in the Springfield. Now, that's a weird idea to live here, but I actually live here. And it's actually a great, Springfield's a great community. I love it here. People are great. I got to fix the roof and pump out the basement and, fix the elevator and, whatever. But we'll do that. My dogs love it, because I got a big fenced yard. They can just run. We can't do that so much up in Winnetka, where I live, where our old house is. So, it's an honor to be here. And every day, every breakfast and every dinner, like this morning, I had 9 or 8 legislators over for breakfast. Every breakfast, every dinner, I have legislators over. And at night, sometimes I'll invite them over and have a beer and a cigar or whatever. And you know what? We have a good time. We don't always agree on everything, but you know what? We agree on far more than we disagree on. And we're developing a mutual level of respect and communication. And that's the key to solving problems, because we're going to have to do some creative compromise, and whatever happens is going to have to be done on a bipartisan basis. So I'm excited, I'm honored, and I'm humbled to work for you. Thank you for your persistence. I know it ain't easy being a business builder in Illinois, but I'm going to make it a lot easier for you and a lot better for you. And help us now. Get involved, spread the message, get out and support it publicly, and we'll get the word out there. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you. Further questions? No? Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're watching the Illinois Channel, an independent nonprofit corporation formed to provide gavel-to-gavel coverage of Illinois state government and other public affairs events taking place across Illinois.